Good afternoon. I am Colonel Brian Ron, Deputy Superintendent of the Wisconsin State Patrol. I would like to first of all thank everybody for coming today, and I'd also like to introduce Captain Tony Burrell, who is at my left here. He's the commander of the Northeast region here in Fond du Lac, and to his left is Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney. In a few minutes, I will be turning it over to Fond du Lac County District Attorney Eric Toney to announce his findings related to the March 24th, 2015 shooting death of Trooper Trevor Casper. I will also have Captain Burrell come up and make some comments from the family. I would first like to make some comments about the death of Trooper Trevor Casper. Since the tragic events of March 24th, members of the Wisconsin State Patrol, the Casper family, friends, and the entire Wisconsin law enforcement community have struggled with the loss of Trooper Trevor Casper. Although we know the healing process takes time, I can tell you that this has been a very difficult and challenging period and will have an everlasting impact on our agency. Some of that pain has been softened as we learned of the heroic actions taken by Trevor. Many of those heroic actions are detailed in District Attorney Toney's report. Through his actions and commitment to duty, Trooper Casper was able to take out a threat that was prepared to inflict more devastation on the citizens of Fond du Lac had he not been stopped. Trevor's name has been etched in all of our hearts since March 24th. Soon, Trevor's name will be etched on the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Memorial in Madison and the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C., an honor that has been bestowed upon many fallen heroes before Trevor, but one that is truly deserving to Wisconsin State Patrol Trooper Trevor Casper. At this time, I would like Captain Burrell to come up and make a statement on behalf of the Casper family.
Thank you, Colonel. I wanted to read a prepared statement from the family. The Casper family provided us, and it reads, "We would like to thank everyone from across the state for their support and prayers as our family goes through this tragic time. We also hope that you keep the Christ and Snyder families in your prayers. The level of support we have received throughout this difficult time has been overwhelming and unexpected. We have personally felt the incredible bond that exists within the law enforcement community, and we are very grateful that continued support, especially from the Wisconsin State Patrol and the Kiel and Fond du Lac Police Departments. We are extremely proud of the dedication, compassion, and reliability that Trevor brought with him to the Wisconsin State Patrol. Trevor told his dad he was not nervous about he didn't have any concerns before his first day on his own as a state trooper. Trevor always had a knack for putting others at ease, was blessed to have many friends around him, and always put others before himself. We will miss Trevor's visits, calls, texts, and Snapchats. But we are comforted because we know Trevor will continue to protect and serve at the highest level as he looks upon us from above." Thank you.
At this time, District Attorney Eric Toney will come up and give a review of his report.
In just a moment, I'm going to read the report with the findings that I made from the investigation that was conducted. And it was difficult to put everything on a piece of paper to really justify and show the heroism that Trevor performed. And so I hope this does it justice, and I hope you'll continue to keep the family in your thoughts and prayers as we also still mourn their loss. March 24th, 2015 will remain a heartbreaking day for the family and friends of Trevor Casper, the Fond du Lac community, the state of Wisconsin, and the brave men and women of our law enforcement agencies throughout the state of Wisconsin. 21-year-old Wisconsin State Trooper Trevor Casper had just completed his field training with the State Patrol and was on his first day of regular duty when he was ambushed and murdered. Trevor Casper's heroic actions eliminated the threat posed to our community by the suspect. Trevor Casper is a hero who, after he had already been shot by the suspect, then shot and killed a man who had already committed an armed bank robbery, stolen a vehicle, and killed a Wisconsin citizen earlier that day. Trevor's actions resulted in him laying down his life to protect our community, most of those people he never met. Trevor went above and beyond what any of us expect of a police officer. His actions speak volumes about the Casper family, how Trevor was raised, the friends that Trevor kept, and the training he received through the Wisconsin State Patrol. It was a privilege and honor for our community to have Trevor serve and protect us, most of our community never having known his name before March 24th. He will forever be in our thoughts and prayers, and I ask that Trooper Casper's family and friends and colleagues remain in your thoughts and prayers as the months and years move forward. His heroic sacrifice and their loss should never be forgotten. Following this incident, the Wisconsin Division of Criminal Investigation requested the Fond du Lac District Attorney's Office review the information surrounding the ambush and murder of Wisconsin State Trooper Trevor Casper and the death of the suspect pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 17547. I have concluded my review of the available information, Wisconsin State Patrol policies, including the use of force policy, and I find that no further investigation is required. I have concluded that Trooper Casper was privileged and justified in defending himself and others in his use of deadly force, which resulted in the death of the suspect, and that all actions of law enforcement officers involved in the incident were appropriate and lawful. Trooper Casper's heroic actions and use of force are justified under the circumstances known to him and in light of the threat posed by the suspect to Trooper Casper and the community. Trooper Casper's actions saved the lives of members of the Fond du Lac community. I have also considered whether there is sufficient evidence to support charging the wife of the suspect with felony murder related to a conspiracy involving the bank robbery in Marinette on March 24th. I have concluded there is insufficient evidence to support such a charge in Fond du Lac County. I have summarized below the events surrounding the suspect's ambush and murder of Trooper Casper, as well as provided an appendix with additional background information to provide a more clear understanding of these events. This includes information related to the suspect's bank robbery in Marinette, as well as the murder of the citizen in Marinette County. I'm going to summarize a timeline of events and then some more details of the actual shooting. On March 24th, 2015, a 911 call was made at approximately 1:47 p.m., alerting law enforcement to a bank robbery that had occurred at the Wasaki branch of the State Bank of Florence in Marinette County. Investigators learned that the subject involved in that bank robbery was the same individual responsible for the ambush and murder of Trooper Casper. During the course of the bank robbery, the suspect fired one shot from a Glock 40 caliber pistol. Investigators learned that the suspect left the bank in a stolen van from a bank employee. Thereafter, the suspect murdered the citizen in Marinette County, and a 911 call was made at approximately 2:35 p.m., alerting law enforcement of the homicide of this suspect, whose body was located on Jermac Road in Wasaki, Wisconsin. The van stolen by the suspect was also located at that address, which is approximately 1 1/4 mile from the State Bank of Florence. Investigators learned that 2 40 caliber rounds from a Glock pistol and 4 5.7 rounds from an FN Herstall pistol were fired at this location. Both of these weapons were later recovered on the suspect's body in Fond du Lac County on March 24th. The suspect also switched vehicles to his rental car while on Jermac Road. Following the crimes committed in Marinette County, the Wisconsin State Patrol was notified that the suspect was involved in the Marinette bank robbery and homicide of the citizen and was considered to be armed and dangerous. The State Patrol were provided with the make, model, color, and license plate information of the suspect's rental vehicle. The Wisconsin State Patrol was also advised that the suspect was headed south out of Marinette. At approximately 3:15 p.m., Sergeant John Jones with the Wisconsin State Patrol began to state troopers to points along various highways in an effort to interdict the suspect. At approximately 4:33 p.m., the Fond du Lac State Patrol Post was notified of a bank robbery at the hometown bank in the city of Fond du Lac at 245 North Peters Avenue. The suspect responsible for the Marinette bank robbery, the homicide of a citizen, and the ambush and murder of Trooper Casper was not involved in the hometown bank robbery. At approximately 5:08 p.m., the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office was alerted that the suspect's phone pinged in Oshkosh approximately 15 minutes earlier. Sergeant Jones indicated in his conversations with the FBI Green Bay field office that it appeared the FBI field office in Traverse City, Michigan was not cooperating with the Green Bay field office as would be expected on cell phone ping information of the suspect. Sergeant Jones on multiple occasions requested real-time phone pings so that troopers could be effectively positioned to interdict the suspect. The State Patrol did not receive any real-time phone ping information. At approximately 5:26 p.m., Sergeant Jones notified the FBI that based on the delay in receiving phone ping information, the State Patrol might discontinue their effort to interdict the suspect. Trooper Casper first observed the suspect's vehicle in Fond du Lac County on Highway 41 near County Highway 00. The suspect's vehicle was traveling southbound at approximately 5:32 p.m. Trooper Casper radioed that he had located the suspect, and Sergeant Jones informed Trooper Casper that the suspect was armed and dangerous and to stay back. Trooper Casper followed the suspect without emergency lights or sirens activated as he waited for additional law enforcement units to assist him. At no point did Trooper Casper attempt to perform a traffic stop of the suspect's vehicle. At this time, State Troopers Corliss Justman and Andrew Heyer were traveling northbound on Highway 41 near Lost Arrow Road in Fond du Lac in an attempt to assist Trooper Casper. At 5:33 p.m., the Wisconsin State Patrol dispatch requested the assistance of the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office in assisting Trooper Casper as he followed the suspect southbound from Highway 00 on Highway 41. During this time, members of the City of Fond du Lac Police Department were investigating an unrelated bank robbery that had occurred on March 24th. Detectives from the City of Fond du Lac Police Department were still on scene at the hometown bank, which was approximately 3/10 of a mile of the shootout on Burger Parkway in Fond du Lac. Wisconsin State Patrol Captain Anthony Burrell began responding to assist State Trooper Casper at approximately 5:35 p.m. Captain Burrell was responding from the Fond du Lac State Patrol District Headquarters. Trooper Casper continued following the suspect's vehicle as it exited Highway 41 at Johnson Street or the Highway 23 exit. At approximately 5:36 p.m., Trooper Casper radioed his location. Trooper Casper then continued following the suspect as the suspect traveled east into the city of Fond du Lac. Both the suspect and Trooper Casper then turned into a parking lot near Rocky Rococo's and then traveled through the Pick and Save parking lot and onto Burger Parkway near the Pick and Save grocery store, and Trooper Casper radioed his location at 5:38 p.m. It is probable that the suspect was performing maneuvers in an attempt to determine if he was being followed by law enforcement based on the text messages the suspect was sending to friends and relatives between 5:24 p.m. and 5:36 p.m. Trooper Casper always maintained a calm and collected demeanor while making his radio transmissions while following the suspect. Once on Burger Parkway, while traveling south, the suspect entered an alleyway behind the Pick and Save and changed directions, now traveling north in the direction of Trooper Casper. Trooper Casper and the suspect were both located just north of the alleyway leading to the south side of Pick and Save on Burger Parkway. Once the suspect finished performing the maneuver and changing direction, he ambushed and shot at Trooper Casper, while both the suspect and Trooper Casper were still seated in their respective vehicles. At approximately 5:38 p.m., Trooper Justman arrived on the north stretch of Burger Parkway, adjacent to the Pick and Save parking lot, just as the suspect was exiting his vehicle towards Trooper Casper and his squad car. At this time, Trooper Justman radioed, "Shots fired." Approximately 8 seconds later, Trooper Heyer arrived on scene and also radioed, "Shots fired." Captain Burrell arrived approximately 1 minute later, and the State Patrol requested an ambulance at approximately 5:39 p.m. to respond to Burger Parkway. City of Fond du Lac police officers observed the suspect down at gunpoint on the south alleyway behind the trees. The suspect was still holding a handgun. As additional troopers and law enforcement arrived, they noted citizens near the location of the shooting. It was later determined that none of these citizens had any connection to the suspect. Captain Burrell and Trooper Heyer transported Trooper Casper away from the scene in Trooper Heyer's Wisconsin State Patrol SUV at approximately 5:42 p.m. Trooper Justman remained at the scene of the shooting to assist in securing the scene, as well as alerting additional law enforcement personnel of what she observed. Approximately 25 seconds later, Trooper Casper was moved into a City of Fond du Lac Fire Department ambulance, and the fire department began performing life-saving measures while transporting Trooper Casper to a Flight for Life helicopter located at the Fond du Lac County Airport. Trooper Casper succumbed to his injuries before the helicopter could take off. The City of Fond du Lac Fire Department did everything within their power to save Trooper Casper's life. Based on the injuries Trooper Casper sustained, there was nothing the fire department could have done to change the outcome. What I'm going to go through now is a summary of the facts of the shooting on Burger Parkway. The following facts have been gathered through a careful review of witness statements, medical reports, photos, physical evidence, squad dashboard cameras, ballistics reports, DNA reports, along with the assistance of personnel from Wisconsin Division of Criminal Investigation, Wisconsin Crime Lab, Medical Examiner Douglas Kelly, City of Fond du Lac Police Department, the FBI, and the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office. The assistance of DCI Special Agent Dave Forsyth and the rest of the DCI personnel that assisted with this investigation has been invaluable. The suspect fired at Trooper Casper a total of 9 times. He fired his first round after changing direction while still seated in his rental car. The next 7 rounds were fired on the east side of Burger Parkway after the suspect exited his vehicle. Trooper Casper was struck by 3 of these rounds. The suspect fired his 9th round as he was attempting to flee the scene. All of the rounds fired by the suspect in Fond du Lac were traced back to the suspect's FN Herstall 5.7 semi-automatic pistol. These rounds were armor-piercing. Trooper Casper returned fire, discharging his firearm a total of 12 times. The exchange of gunfire lasted approximately 17 seconds. Before the suspect changed direction, the citizen witness pulled onto Burger Parkway and began traveling southbound behind Trooper Casper. The citizen noted that the lights and sirens of Trooper Casper's squad car were not activated. The citizen also noted being confused as to why Trooper Casper's squad car was moving slowly, and then observed Trooper Casper angle his squad car towards the rear entrance of the Pick and Save store. The citizen then began passing Trooper Casper's position and observed the suspect's car pull out of the rear entrance of the store. The suspect then traveled between the citizen's vehicle and Trooper Casper. The citizen noted being surprised by the suspect's car's path. The citizen heard a gunshot, which the suspect fired at Trooper Casper. The citizen noted that Trooper Casper and the suspect were both still in their respective vehicles at the time of this gunshot. Ballistics information and medical reports indicate this was the first time Trooper Casper was shot, which was not a fatal injury. The citizen then pulled further up the road and observed the suspect exit his vehicle, and Trooper Casper responded by exiting his vehicle. The physical evidence, in conjunction with citizen witness statements, shows that the bullet fired by the suspect entered Trooper Casper's squad car just below the window of the front driver's side door and passed through the molding of the same door. No other bullet holes were located in Trooper Casper's squad car. This bullet went through Trooper Casper's door and struck him just above his ballistic vest in his neck. Medical examiner Kelly concluded that this injury was not fatal and it was consistent with the round having struck an intermediary object before striking Trooper Casper. No spent rounds or shell casings were located in Trooper Casper's squad car. Dash camera footage, DNA information, and witness statements show that the suspect then exited his vehicle without it being placed in park, and Trooper Casper exited his vehicle without it being placed in park. It was during this time, after exiting his squad car, that Trooper Casper was struck by 2 additional rounds, one of which was fatal, fired by the suspect. The location of the suspect's 8 shell casings on Burger Parkway and additional physical evidence indicate that Trooper Casper suffered 2 gunshots as he was attempting to seek cover by moving around the front of his squad car. Trooper Casper was struck by a bullet in his back that penetrated his ballistic vest, continued through a lung, and was located in the front portion of his ballistic vest. Trooper Casper was also struck by another bullet in his left hand during that time, which caused a noticeable amount of blood loss. After being ambushed and suffering 3 gunshot wounds, one of which was fatal, Trooper Casper continued to position himself toward the front of the squad car and sought cover near the front passenger side wheel area. Trooper Casper appeared to be attempting to maintain a visual of the suspect while maintaining his cover. The suspect proceeded south toward the rear of Trooper Casper's squad car and then moved west next to the passenger side of Trooper Casper's squad car. During this time, the suspect ejected an ammunition magazine from his FN 5.7 with 3 unfired rounds remaining. Trooper Casper appeared to have continued to maintain a visual of the suspect and repositioned himself by moving east from the wheel area to the front of his squad car and then north toward the rear of his squad car. The suspect then began to run south on the passenger side or west side of Trooper Casper's squad car towards an apartment complex on the west side of Berger Parkway, which was partially shielded by a line of trees. The path took the suspect through grass and a sidewalk, and Trooper Casper was able to maneuver himself into a firing position as he moved towards the north end of his squad car. Trooper Casper then fired 12 times from his handgun. 1 round struck the suspect in his back and passed through his heart. Medical examiner Kelly concluded that this bullet delivered a fatal injury to the suspect. Medical examiner Kelly concluded that the suspect fired the fatal round prior to making it past the line of trees, based on his examination of the entry wound of the suspect. The suspect was found face up on his back with his FN 5.7 pistol still in his hand. A citizen witness stated that while the suspect was moving toward the tree line and the apartment building, the suspect fired his pistol for the 9th and final time. This last round ended up in the suspect's own vehicle, which had continued moving north until it stopped on the west side of Berger Parkway, just south of the Pick and Save north entrance. The physical evidence demonstrates that the suspect was attempting to reload his handgun with an extended magazine. This magazine suffered a malfunction and 21 unfired rounds fell out of the magazine. Those unfired rounds and additional pieces of the magazine were located near the suspect's body. 2 additional 5.7 magazines were located on the suspect's person, 1 in each sock, totaling 41 unfired rounds. The suspect also had a Glock handgun on his person, which contained a magazine with 22 unfired rounds. Additional magazines were loaded with ammunition, and unfired rounds were located in the suspect's vehicle, totaling approximately 50 rounds. The total number of unfired rounds the suspect had within his vehicle and on his person totaled 137 rounds. Toxicology reports revealed that no alcohol or controlled substance contributed to this incident. Trooper Casper had midazolam in his system, which was administered by emergency service first responders during life-saving efforts. No other controlled substances were found in Trooper Casper or the suspect's body. On March 13, 2015, the suspect's wife provided details to the Nuevo County, Michigan Sheriff's Office related to the suspect's involvement in bank robberies dating back to 2011. This information provided by the suspect's wife effectively abandoned any role she may have had in a conspiracy related to the bank robbery and felony murder of Trooper Casper. Trooper Trevor Casper made a heroic decision to protect Fond du Lac County and risk his own life after he had suffered a gunshot wound while seated in his squad car. Trooper Casper could have chosen to remain in his squad car and disengage from the situation by attempting to drive to a safe location. In an instant, Trooper Casper made a selfless decision to stay in the fight and protect the community, showing little regard for his own personal safety. Trooper Casper exited his squad car and was shot 2 more times. A mortally wounded Trooper Casper then shot and killed the suspect. There is absolutely no doubt that Trooper Casper's use of deadly force was justified. Under Wisconsin law, a person is privileged to threaten or intentionally use force against another for the purpose of preventing or terminating what the person reasonably believes to be an unlawful interference with his or her person by such other person. The actor may intentionally use only such force or threat thereof as the actor reasonably believes is necessary to prevent or terminate the interference. The actor may not intentionally use force which is intended or likely to cause great bodily harm unless the actor reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself. Wisconsin law also extends this privilege to third persons, allowing a person to be privileged to defend a third person from real or apparent unlawful interference by another under the same conditions and by the same means as those under and by which the person is privileged to defend himself or herself from real or apparent unlawful interference, provided that the person reasonably believes that the facts are such that the third person would be privileged to act in self-defense and that the person's intervention is necessary for the protection of the third person. After the suspect fired lethal rounds at Trooper Casper, Casper was absolutely privileged to return lethal fire from the State Patrol issued firearm. Trooper Casper was privileged and justified because when the suspect began firing in the direction of Trooper Casper in the presence of citizens, Trooper Casper and any other person would reasonably believe that it was necessary for Trooper Casper to discharge his firearm to prevent or terminate an unlawful interference with himself and with other third persons who were in the vicinity. It is also reasonable for Trooper Casper to believe that discharging his firearm under these circumstances was absolutely necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or any citizen that could have been harmed by the suspect firing his gun. No unlawful or unjustified actions or omissions from law enforcement contributed to or caused the death of the suspect. It is certain that more innocent lives would have been endangered or lost had Trooper Casper not ended an active and ongoing threat that the suspect posed to the community and Trooper Casper. After shooting Trooper Casper, the suspect attempted to flee the scene. The suspect was armed with 84 additional rounds of ammunition and was attempting to reload a handgun while still attempting to fire on Trooper Casper. The suspect demonstrated no concern for the safety of civilians in the area. It is unknown precisely what the suspect would have done had he escaped, but the series of illegal and violent acts the suspect took on March 24th show that he had no regard for the safety of others. Trooper Casper went above and beyond what we expect of our law enforcement officers by putting the Fond du Lac community above his own personal safety. Trooper Casper continued to exhibit a professional and calm demeanor throughout the entire event and performed at the highest level despite having suffered a fatal gunshot wound. One would never know the extreme danger Trooper Casper faced based on his selfless actions. Trevor Casper did more in 17 seconds than most will do in a lifetime and is undeniably a hero. We mourn Trevor's loss. We pray for his family, his friends, and his colleagues. We also thank the Casper family for lending Trevor to our community for such a small amount of time. His brave and heroic actions will have a lasting impact on Fond du Lac County, not only for the lives that he saved and the danger he prevented, but in how Trevor lived his life, not just on March 24th, but every day of the year. Thank you.
So at this time, we'll open it up for questions.
How close were these exchanges of gunfire from the first time when the suspect's vehicle turned around and came back and they exchanged gunfire from their vehicles to when the suspect exited his vehicle? How close range was that?
So Burger Parkway is approximately 36 feet wide. So what you've got here, you can see Trooper Casper's squad car. You can see the witness that referenced seeing or hearing the first gunshot, and then the suspect's vehicle right here. So they would have been less than 18 feet apart when the first round was fired. The glass here is from the suspect's first round hitting Trooper Casper's squad car, which was where the first gunshot occurred, so somewhere under 18 feet.
Then when they got out of the car?
When they got out of the car, they were probably within under 40 to 60 feet at that point when Trooper Casper was firing his 12 rounds as the suspect was running towards the tree line, which is seen right here.
Can you point out where the two ended up?
The two what?
Where the suspect ended up and where Trooper Casper ended up on that video.
I think we may have that on another diagram, possibly.
Mr. Tony, who was Snyder sending text messages, or who was he exchanging text messages with?
Sure. So I think everybody has the report I sent out, and I'll go through some of those questions. But there is an appendix which will certainly answer some of your questions, but please absolutely ask them. The text messages were sent to some family and friends of his that were leading us to that information. The question, I think, Greg, that you asked, where was the suspect's body found?
Where's Pick and Save?
Pick and Save is right over here,
And the parking lot is,
right up here.
okay,
So
all
this is
right.
north going this way. So the suspect's body was found right here past the tree line. As I mentioned, based on the entry wound that Dr. Kelly observed, it showed that the bullet fired by Trooper Casper didn't strike an intermediary object. And the tree line here is fairly dense, so it's extremely unlikely that a round would have made it through that tree line and not had some movement to it, which would have been noted in the entry to the suspect.
And where's the alleyway?
The alleyway is right here.
Okay, so that's where the first exchange, and then where did he get out of his car?
I think that's probably this one. What you can see is that the suspect was getting out of his car in pretty close proximity to when the first round was fired. It's not exactly clear when he got out of his car at first, but it was somewhere shortly after the first round was fired.
Where was the trooper when he fired that last shot? Fired the shot?
Sure. Trooper Casper positioned himself. I would use maybe this one. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
So what you can see is Trooper Casper's squad car, which, as was noted, was his vehicle was not placed in park, nor was the suspect. So when I was giving the description, when Trooper Casper exited his squad car, he moved around the front and sought cover near the wheel area here and was able to continue to maintain a visual of the suspect. As the suspect left his vehicle, he was seen coming behind Trooper Casper's squad car and then running kind of where my fingers traveling and ultimately to his final resting place. Trooper Casper, as he was observing that, repositioned himself, maneuvered around the front of his squad car towards the back, got into a firing position, and was able to fire while mortally wounded, striking the suspect once.
Do you know
I
how many
heard
yards
rumors
that
of
was? How many yards away was that shot?
I don't have the yardage. It was probably within 40 feet, roughly.
What can you tell us about the manifesto that he wrote?
So the manifesto, I'd say, showed an individual that was willing to die, wanted to die fighting. And
Could you come back to the podium?
Sure, yeah. The manifesto, I think, I'm not going to get into all the specific details because what today is really about is Trevor Casper and what he did. And, you know, like I said before, it's really hard to put into words how amazing Trevor did. If you talk to veteran law enforcement officers, something that they'll tell you, you know, it's something that impresses them. A young man, 21 years old, put the community above himself to save the lives of others. And the manifesto showed an individual that was willing to die fighting, and had no regrets for what he did.
So it shows that Casper could have saved a lot more lives.
I think that's an absolutely fair characterization, yes.
There were, maybe Captain Burrell or Mr. Ron can speak to this, but at the law enforcement memorial, the person from the Department of Justice said it is somewhat ironic that this was Trooper Casper's first day on the job. He was the rookie, and yet in the end, he's the one that becomes the teacher.
I was there when they made those comments, and they definitely are true. Although a rookie, I think the training that the Wisconsin State Patrol provides, whether it's at the academy when they come out and they go through their field training program, we try to instill so many things and so many aspects of this job. And somebody like Trevor that took that to heart, understood it, was a top performer at the academy. Clearly, when he was called into action, he exemplified what any law enforcement officer would do out there.
Colonel, can you talk about the fatal shot, if I understand this correctly, was fired through his light armor? Was he properly equipped? Are you worried about the equipment that your guys are wearing?
All I can tell you is that the armor that our folks carry is at a level that would be consistent with pretty well any firearm that we would encounter out there. Obviously, when you get into specific types of ammunition, it's very limited body armor that's going to stop us. A number of calibers and a number of different types of ammunition.
So is this an armored piercing round that can be loaded into a pistol and used that way?
Yeah, maybe I'll let the district attorney, because they did a little bit more research on that round.
In the report that I issued, there's a footnote to the armor piercing part. And what it notes, if I remember correctly, goes towards the velocity, the nature of the round, how it was constructed. I wasn't going to provide any further details out of respect to officer safety. We don't want to let other people know what those type of rounds might be. So,
Eric, do you know, did the suspect turn into Fond du Lac because he thought he may be followed? He saw the trooper behind him. He was familiar, having lived in Fond du Lac years ago. Did any of his text messages indicate why he turned into Fond du Lac?
well, I think the suspect may have thought he was being followed at that point based on the text messages. Whether it was because he was familiar with Fond du Lac, I couldn't say. But based on the text messages, I think it's fair to say the suspect either thought he was going to be arrested or he would be dead based on what he sent to the friends and family.
Can we talk about those text messages? Were his friends and family aware?
I'm not going to get into the details of the specifics on those text messages. Like I said before, what today's about is Trevor Casper. He, you know, it's incredibly amazing what he did, and there's a reason that you only see the suspect's name in my report once. I don't feel that he deserves to be on the same page.
How about, are there any other charges that could be coming? Were friends and family aware that he was robbing banks and involved in criminal activity?
The only information I received related to the wife, and there were insufficient information to support charges here in Fond du Lac County.
Do you think Trooper Casper's life could have been saved if the Michigan FBI had been more responsive that day?
Well, you know, that's a tough question to answer because it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback something after it happened. And I don't think there's ever a time when an officer is killed that people wouldn't look back and say, you know, gee, I wish I would have done this different or that different. I've had, and I won't speak for the FBI or Newaygo County, those are questions you'd have to ask them. What I will say is in the conversations I have had with folks from both of those agencies is they're all feeling terrible about what happened, and that they're racking their brains and wondering could they have done something different. And same with the conversations I had with the fire department personnel that performed the life-saving measures on Trevor Casper. And I'm sure all the state patrol that were involved are probably thinking the same thing. And it's not fair because everybody is doing their best in a situation that there's no way Trooper Casper would have known what was about to happen.
Colonel, given the fact that there are suspects who have weapons loaded with this type of ammunition, is there a type of vest that could better protect your troopers or other officers who might face off with a suspect like this in the future?
Well, I'm sure there is. I mean, in your tactical units and stuff like that, use more of a ballistic vest. But there's also you have to weigh, you know, the ability to function as a law enforcement officer out there versus, you know, wearing that type of protective armor. So, yeah, we'd like our best to be able to stop anything that could potentially be thrown our way. But again, you know, we try to do our best and still allow the individual to be able to function out there as a law enforcement officer.
Colonel, can you talk about this shot, the 12 shots that the trooper fired as he's dying? It's just an incredible shot.
Well, it is. I mean, and again, it comes back to that training, and once the determination was made on Trevor's part that he was going to engage, and that's what he did. And you know, there's no doubt there's a mind and a reaction issue that comes into play here, and his mind was made up that he was going to continue to stay in that gunfight, and ultimately it was until his heart stopped beating and he no longer could engage, and that he was going to be in that fight. And clearly, again, when I talk about exemplifying, that truly was you know, how he exemplified a law enforcement officer reacting under those circumstances.
Certainly all of the law enforcement, whether it was state patrol or the police and the sheriff's office, heard this radio traffic. They knew this dangerous armed robbery suspect was coming into Fond du Lac, yet it was Trooper Casper alone who was following him. And I'm just wondering at what point were we expect, I guess in the back of some people's minds, it's why didn't everybody converge on this guy as soon as he came into the city of Fond du Lac?
And I'll just, obviously we had a sergeant that was involved, and we're trying to station people not knowing exactly where this vehicle could potentially come. So we, you know, are stationed throughout Highway 41 and ancillary roadways. But once that individual, that suspect was spotted, obviously any troopers or any law enforcement area that were in the area started responding to that location. And we had a number of troopers, obviously, that were responding to that location to assist Trooper Casper, as was Captain Burrell. But I mean, it's just a matter of the timing, how quick that happened versus how quick the cars could get there.
Captain Burrell, you were out there.
I just want to speak to that issue real quick. One of the issues was the suspect's phone was being pinged, but it wasn't specific latitude and longitude data. It was just a particular cell phone tower. So law enforcement did not know the precise location of the suspect until Trooper Casper spotted him. So it was at that point that Captain Burrell, Troopers Hire, and Justman began responding to the area. So once the suspect was located, people were getting notified and everybody was trying to converge on that location.
If they knew he was a suspect and they were pinging his phone, why wasn't he stopped before even robbing a bank?
That's the question you'd have to ask the Michigan authorities. I don't know what I know they were attempting to obtain a DNA sample from him. Whether they knew his exact location, there was information about what the suspect would do to avoid apprehension prior to bank robberies. So if he was employing some of those methods, I don't know. We don't have all the phone ping information prior to March 24th for me to be able to tell you where he was. That's a question I couldn't answer.
But they knew enough about him to be tracking his phone.
Well, what they had was his wife giving a statement indicating that she stated on March 13th, 2015 that she recognized her husband from a press release in a bank robbery, that he was the person in that photo. So that was something that had occurred in Michigan. So it wasn't until March 13th that this individual became a suspect in those bank robberies, and that my understanding from the information provided by Michigan authorities, they then began attempting to find more information on the suspect.
Captain Burrell, you were out there that day.
Yes.
How has this impacted you?
Well, obviously it's impacted me and my colleagues, Colonel, everybody in law enforcement. It's impacted us immensely. This is something you don't ever expect to happen, but we know, we come to expect it by potentially happening as a course of what we do on a daily basis. We put the uniform on in hopes that you're going out there to do your job, but you know that the evil element is out there and will always be out there, and we have to prepare, and we train our personnel so that they can prepare themselves the best they possibly can. But given the circumstances in this situation, there's just some dynamics in there that one cannot prepare for. So you can only anticipate. And how it's impacted us all is, as was alluded to earlier, it's been hard for us all, but the time is slowly healing that wound. I don't think we'll ever get over it, but we will certainly come to grips with it, understanding what has happened, the ramifications of it. The positive out of it is that Trevor, we remember and recognize him as a hero here today, and forevermore we will remember him as a hero, and that's what he is to us and will always be for us.
Can you talk about Trevor a little more, even in a personal sense? Like, obviously you work closest with him out of anyone here. Just who he was as a young man.
He worked right here out of the Fond du Lac County, and he would spend time here at the post during his field training. And quite often you'd see him walking around the halls, or you'd see him in the troop room with the others come in, hanging out, they're having their lunch, or they're just, hanging in there and talking and laughing. And, occasionally I'd see him coming in around up the hallways, and I'd ask him how he was doing, how was his training going. He was always upbeat, always positive, had a smile on his face. He's a little bit of a jokester, a prankster with some of the guys. So there was a bonding that was developing there, and that was a great thing for us all. And we certainly missed that around here.
It was his first day being solo, but hearing the details for the first time, didn't sound like he was a rookie that day.
No, I think Trevor, having gone through our academy, learned the importance of law enforcement and what it takes to be tactically sound and safe out there. Unfortunately, again, there was circumstances that were, you just can't prepare for. But he did what he had to do under the circumstances, and he was fortunate enough for all of us to have been able to take out a bad person, someone who was bent on destruction in the community, and he was able to meet that threat head on and take it out.
You read the family's statement. Have you been able to have any contact with them? I mean, that's got to be something that, in a career that's just heartbreaking to then see that young man's family. And what do you say?
The family is, they're a pretty private family, and I know that that Trevor, this has been his lifelong dream, is to be in law enforcement, to be a state trooper, and I know he had the support of his mother and his father and his family in that realm, and I know that it's tough on them as well, losing a son and a brother. I know that in talking to them on various times since then, they've been positive, they've been upbeat about it, and they continue to be strong for each other, and we've also offered ourselves to them because we've included them in our family as well here in the patrol, and they know that they're always going to be a part of this family, and hopefully they feel we'll be a part of theirs.
How long did it take? Was it 17 seconds from the first shot? How long did this whole exchange take?
17 seconds is the approximation from when the suspect fired his first shot until Trevor fired his 12th shot, and that's we were able to piece that together through some of the dashboard camera footage that we had. Yeah, I wanted to kind of back to the question about the kind of person Trevor was. I never got a chance to meet him, but one of the attorneys in my office shared a story when Trevor was still in field training, and it just kind of, I think, exemplifies some of the comments you heard from Captain Burrell. He's standing in the hallway by the courtroom, and he's just standing up against the wall, and he's just kind of looking at his shoulders, and you can see what the two troopers here have on their shoulders, and that's the Wisconsin State Patrol patch. And what you could see was just how proud Trevor was to be a Wisconsin State Trooper and what that meant to him. And even on March 24th, he was having some vehicle issues, and he radioed in, and he wanted everybody to know he was chomping and ready to go. So, I mean, this was just an incredible young man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.